to Joe at Outcrop Gold. Joe, I have some people trying to understand, from what I'm reading here, understand the economic mining ability of this type of mineralization. Are you trying to find like a swarm of these high-grade veins or shoots? Could you explain to us how far apart these shoots are and how that becomes economic?
Well, the distance between shoots can be as low as 200 meters in a vein to as much as 400 meters across distance-wise between veins of projection to the surface. As a complex, it's going to work as a complex of 10 or 12 veins. It's going to work together as a single underground mine with a central facility. I mean, potentially, if we find it's economic. Again, that's why I tried to make the comparison to Silver Corp. Their stopes for shrinkage, which is a method for narrow veins, are from 1.2 to 2.2. Where they're larger than that, they can do long hole stoping, and where they have very high grade narrow veins, it's a method. It's an old method called risu mining, which you move the waste out separate from the vein for enough working room, and you actually take out down to a 0.5 meter vein itself almost undiluted.
And how deep would you plan on drilling these shoots? You know, if they're following them lower and lower, how far would you drill down?
Well, we know it's a complex of low angle or moderate angle and subvertical intersecting vein systems, and the chutes are configured to those veins. We have the Megapozo and the La Ivana are the deepest. La Ivana is open at 350 meters down dip. It becomes more of a challenge with respect to topography and placing the holes where you want, but then the more subvertical Roberto Tovar, San Juan, El Dorado, they're exceeding 250 meters down dip, and being as that we think this is a young epithermal superposed on an older orogenic, these things could have kilometer depth.
Yeah. Okay. And are there any security situations? You know, I've been in Mexico probably on 50 plus site visits over the years. I know some areas are a little more concerned. There's more concern than others. In Santa Ana, in Colombia, is there any, potential for problems with security?
No, not really. We matrix all our projects on security and the cost of security and the precautions we need to take, and it goes from blue to bright red, literally. And Santa Ana is a blue at very low risk, almost no personal security risk whatsoever.
Right. Okay. Next question's for Sean and Janet. Well, actually, this one's for Sean. Sean, you are known for major discoveries in the Yukon and exploration in the Yukon. What about the Newfoundland, the Central Gold Belt, pulled you away? It was this, as you mentioned in your thing. I think you addressed that question. Do you want to say anything further about it?
Yeah, well, the reason why I went there was looking for another place that was kind of set up from a geological point of view with a good geological survey, had really good till data to work with. But it was the shoulder season. I was trying to come up with a new area that you could actually work and go out and drill and not wait for the winter to shut, for spring to come. So in Newfoundland, you could work and drill 12 months out of the year. So that's half the reason why I went there.
Okay. And there's a question here about how does the NFLD compare to Yukon for cost of exploration?
It's actually, normally I put 30% for helicopter time in the Yukon. There is no helicopter there. And there's all these bed and breakfasts because all these little communities. So there's places you could stay like in Millertown for $85 a night. And you get fed and you got a nice room to rent and you got high speed internet. And it's crazy. And it's only about, 30 minutes out from the property. So wow. Yeah, the island that way is quite nice. And literally, the guys, there's still no snow. They just got hit with a little snow. Now, normally they get walloped in the wintertime by gander, but literally the island's a nice area to work for. like our work on anyways.
Yeah, well, that's a big change. Yeah, when there's no helicopters, it does cut the cost quite a bit. So, and so the plan is that you're going to really get the boots on the ground. You're going to get your team. You guys are going to really try to focus and get down to the details on the best high priority drill targets.
Well, because we have soils already ahead from 2015 on those linears, we're going to go in and detail that right away. So now that'll be the first targets emerging. And then we're going to probably hit it with a big regional soils. And that's kind of what my work there did prove, is that like this is the difference. Instead of just doing normal B horizons like everybody was in the shield, I'm going down still a meter. It's below a weathered oxide zone, and it looks like it's responding much, much better. And we're actually going to start a research case study on that with the Newfoundland government, and go in and test this idea out. And that's what we're trying to do, is relook at how we've undertaken soils in the past.
Yeah. How many soil samples are you going to take? We're talking about a big scale, or
like I've staked a large amount of claims on the island, and we're ready to basically option them out. But between C2C and all my other customers, we're looking at, like we did in the Yukon, probably close to between 80 and 100,000 soils across the entire district. So the idea is that nobody's done this since 89, went out and looked for brand new discoveries, because when Noranda found most of them, every time people came back, they just went and looked at the old showings again. And you can't poo-poo that, because Newfound Gold drilled under an old showing and look what they found. So the idea, but the point is nobody's actually gone to look for brand new areas. And that's what we're going to do here this summer.
Yeah. Well, that's...
One thing that I would add to that, Greg, is, you know, Sean's done an incredible amount of research and really built on research that's recently been released by the Canadian Geological Survey and years of work by the Geological Survey in Newfoundland. But, you know, to get to this point has taken somebody that's really just lasered in on spending the time pulling all those pieces of information together. And what he did in the Yukon, same thing. He looks at things in a very different way, and it's to all of our benefit.
Yeah. Well, one thing I can say about Newfoundland, having been up there quite a few times, in all my travels over the world, I find the people in Newfoundland are some of the nicest, friendliest people I've ever come across. I remember there was a problem with a flight or something that I couldn't get on, and it was really bad weather. And somebody just said, you know, people that just kind of knew me from who I was as a newsletter writer, they invited me into their home to stay. I was like, they said, "Oh, that's very common up there, Greg."
Yeah.
But
it's a great part of the world to work, and it really is, like you're saying, they're great people. And that's where most of our miners come from. So now imagine us going to find a mine there, right in mining territory. And they have really cheap power, and they got roads everywhere. So.
Okay, well, next question here looks like it's for Brian at Northstar. Brian, this question is, you recently closed a 2.4 million tranche in your private placement. Is the placement still open for participation?
Better act now. Yeah, it is. There's still a bit more room, so we'll probably end up closing it next week. But yeah, any listeners or investors interested, they should express their interest sooner than later.
Okay. And let's see here. I got to go back to Outcrop. Joe, this is what is the long-term plan at Santa Ana?
We're sort of open on that, but I think that we will probably do the drilling to the maiden compliant resource. If things keep going like they are, that could be anywhere from 18 to 24 months. And then I would imagine that I could foresee a buyout by like a company that does well with veins. And but since we have other properties, I hope that we would be able to sort of keep on going doing what we're doing with the rest of the portfolio, because we have other foundational projects to advance that are just like Santa Ana.
Yeah. Another question here is, what about the metallurgy? Has there been any tests done? I mean, you're still early on in this exploration, but do you have any thoughts about metallurgical issues at this point?
No, honestly, we haven't done met. We're kind of getting close to consider that, because we're actually going to do just an internal preliminary grade and tonnage estimate on our best low angle shoot and our best high angle shoot. At that point, we'll probably do some preliminary benchtop metallurgy, but right now we're not really anticipating anything. You know, I mean, arsenic's low, there's low toxics, there's not really any conflicting metallurgical elements. We think will be a lot of free gold in particular. There's native silver, and the rest of it's sulfates, sulfur salts that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
Pretty typical, really.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what's in the surrounding area. I know you and I talked about probably trying to do a site visit. With COVID. It's traveling just makes it very, very difficult, but maybe in the summertime, do you think you'd be doing a site visit for people like me and others who'd be interested?
Yeah, I would be happy to do that, actually. You know what, COVID was looking better. They've done another precautionary border closure for 2 weeks. We're continuing to drill with 2 rigs, and we have a crew of 100, all told, 100 people on the ground there. I mean, a good part of laborers and that. So it's just hard to predict what's going to happen. But if by the summer, if the borders are open, I think that I'm going to be there as soon as I can, and we can scope out. I have people down there living in Medellin and making the trip, you know, once or twice a week, and you can work in country as long as the particular mandate doesn't hammer you. So yeah, we'd love to do some tours as soon as we can.
Yeah. And that goes for everybody else on my panel. You know, I'm a guy that likes to get out in the field and see things. So whenever you think it's safe and reasonable to do a site visit, please let me know. So
Absolutely.
yeah. So here we got about 9 minutes left here. I'm having trouble finding some other questions here, and I think they're being sent to my email. I don't have access to it right now. Let me look here. That's, I think you already answered this one, Sean and Janet. When will you be drilling? I think you said probably late 2021, early 2022. Is that what we heard?
Yep. Yeah, that's about the timing it should be ready for. Yeah.
And can we drill year round up there? Is there any limitations?
Yeah, no, it's kind of you could drill year round. So lab goals getting ready to drill in February. So that's the one thing you have to do that's different from the Yukon, is you have to figure out where you want to drill, and then you apply for that specific place, versus the Yukon, when you basically come in, you can apply for a 5-year permit anywhere on the property. So that's why once we do our soils, fill that detailed in, and then hit it up with some follow-up work, you know, some either RAB drilling or probing, but you can't drill. Like, you see, the point was, once we get the soils, then you apply for where your permit is. And that takes about 6 weeks, but then you're good to go. So, but that's what's nice. You could soil right up until November. And then if you want to drill all winter, you could drill all winter.
Yeah. No, that's great. What about assaying? You know, we seem to have some problems this past year because of the downturn, the bear market in mining. We lost a lot of our good quality assay lab people. A lot of the labs shut down with all the exploration drilling that happened last year. And we still have companies up in British Columbia waiting for drill results that they did in June and July. And it's almost intolerable. What's the situation in all of your areas for?
Well, it's the same thing, but if you pre-plan it like we did in 2011, when we did 170,000 soils that year, my turnaround time was 17 to 20 days. Oh. So even though it was a bulk, so I already have the labs all tuned up for a 20-day turnaround. So we'll have a prep lab on the island, whether it's the Eastern guys or if someone brings in a prep lab. But the idea that we could get this fast turnaround within 20 to 25 days. And then what I'm getting at is, you start in June, you don't have to, you could start infilling by July, and you can
Right.
infill in August and September. So we have a nice window to work, and
Yep.
then kind of come up with the targets ready to, like, you have time to think, and that's what I like about the island. You don't get weathered out. I guess
Right.
that's what I'm getting.
Right. And a question for Brian, same thing. Assays, do you have any problem getting assays? I would think not in your area.
No, there was a slowdown, but no, the problem that we're having, and I guess it's a good problem, is that owing to the amount of coarse gold that we're seeing in the core, we had to do a lot of metallics. So we get our numbers, we look, the geologists would go back to the core and look, geez, there's all kinds of gold here, and you're not seeing the numbers that really you would expect. So then you got to do metallics, and I can't remember the exact number, but I think by doing the metallics and everything, we ended up increasing grades by almost 20%. So it's definitely worth waiting for. But other than that, basically by the time you shut down the hole to assays, it's about 2 months, and that's just the reality.
Yeah.
It was our reality.
And Joe, you've been getting your assays real quick, it looks like.
Yeah, we're using we've been drilling 1,800 to 2,200 meters month in, month out for 12 months, and we're going to continue doing that if we're able to, with respect to no virus COVID restrictions. We prep everything in Medellin, and then we're using 2 labs, and we're using ACT labs and NALS, and literally whoever says the quickest time frame, that's who gets them. So
yeah,
and it seems to help because I think we'll get to the point where we're churning out Joe assays every 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, let's do this. We got 5 minutes left. Let's everybody take a minute and just summarize anything else you'd like to say. Let's go, Sean, Brian, Joe, and Janet. Okay.
Well,
Sean.
I'm saying welcome to the Newfoundland. This is all going to take off. And from a geological point of view and from geochemistry, the island's still a virgin. And this is going to be like the Yukon, but take 2 in Newfoundland, which is a nice place to hang out.
Yes. Much more comfortable. Creature comforts.
Yeah.
Don't have to worry about the bears.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Brian?
2020 was a very exciting year for Northstar at Miller. We accomplished a lot with and made some significant discoveries. I'm really pumped over the gold spot results. I'm not surprised. I've always suspected there's a lot more cyanites and then intrusive bodies at depth on the property. So really, the challenge now is just going to be focusing on the drill targets that drilling the right targets. So,
Right.
exciting times.
Yep. Okay, Joe?
I think Coloma is the only place in the world where you can drill outcropping deposits. You can be selective. That's what we require. That's all we require. I think we can expect to see more phenomenal high grade, especially silver. I think that 1.4 kilogram silver is going to be a repetitive feature. And we got 2 rigs running. We're 100% success rate on targets to shoots, and we just keep putting together more potential.
Super. And Janet? Oh, did she? Looks like she must have dropped off there. Well, listen, thanks to all of our panelists. Thanks for all our viewers who listened in. We're grateful, and we just want to wish everybody the best in these times with this virus. Hope things get better, and that we can move forward all of our agendas in the field. With that, I'll sign off and say good night, and thanks for being here.